And what I hope to see in the future, not necessarily the promotion relegation step first, but let's see the same type of merger that we saw in basketball and in baseball.
Well,
I mean, you saw two independent leagues merge. Mind you, we're not going to see NASL teams and USL teams immediately merge into the top division. But I would like to see them merge to see where they start working together as an organization, as a group that really wants to promote the sport in the States.
Well,
and then once we have this system set up, then we can start talking about promotion relegation.
Well, that's the problem, Brett. I mean, again, you can't just let these two independent financial entities work and compete against one another for the D2 spot, all right, like they're doing now. Like this is somehow the NFL and the USL. It's not the NFL and the USL. That's the top echelon of American football, all right? And it's not going to work that way. The USF has to step in and say, listen, enough is enough. What we really need is a solid Division II. Then after we get that, then we can start talking about the realities of promotion and relegation. Well, we're not even that far along. Somebody's got to grab the reins here and set up some guidelines, because this is right now, it's a mess. It's a mess.
Well, you know, what's funny is the people that are running the NASL are a board of owners. It's not one entity like New Rock. It's not like MLS. It is a board of owners who own the teams. It is.
But they all have a collective investment here.
They have a collective investment to see the league succeed, because if the league succeeds, they succeed. So it'd be more beneficial if we saw more of that, with one entity overruling the entire pyramid of leagues. So we have basically, say, like if MLS were to control all the divisions, you still have each individual owner that owns their team, which is what NASL is. There are a bunch of owners that want to run their own league.
Right.
It's not like an entity of MLS where they own everything, and you do this, you do that, you follow these rules. You know, this is a group of owners, a board of directors, basically, from each team.
It's too loose.
Really
yeah, that's.
It is. It just needs organization and a system set up and developed.
I mean, there are guidelines that every federation provides. Even in Europe, obviously, there are a lot of basic rules that all the divisions have to follow in order to, make sense of things. And right now there's no sense, there's no common sense happening, and we've got these two different parties jockeying for D2, D3. I don't know. It's ridiculous. And what it comes down to, go ahead, Brett.
I was going to say, personally, what I feel the issue is USSF looks at basically national teams, and they look at clubs. They're saying, well, these organizations are working with the clubs and trying to develop a system for that. Let them do their own thing. We'll focus primarily on the national team at all levels, from youths to seniors. The problem is that they're now having to force their way into the club section to try to organize some form of peace and some sort of organization. Is what they're doing with the Division II, where they're requiring all these, status quos. You have to have a major owner that has at least a $20 million worth. You have to have a soccer-specific stadium.
Yeah.
They're finally trying to make this step in it, but it might be too late for some aspects. They might have to basically hammer down a little bit harder than that.
They're going to have to hammer down, because you just mentioned they're worried about, the development of the national team. Well, all of this junk affects, or could affect, it eventually, how the youth players are developed in this country, and the teams that they play for, and in what fashion they play for these clubs, and where these clubs are situated, and how they operate, and whether or not these clubs are free to do their own thing willy-nilly, or whether or not they have to live within some basic guidelines that tell them, hey, this is how you're going to operate. And right now, it's MLS is so reliant on these capitals. Venture these sort of it's capitalism in many ways. For the MLS, it's been at its best, because it's been a sort of cautious, progressive approach. But now we're looking at D2, and it's a complete disaster because of the same relaxed, if you will, approach by the USSF. It worked for MLS, but it's not working for D2. That sort of relaxed approach. there need to be tighter reins. And that sort of brings me to the other option as we run out of time, Brett, and that is Jimmy Conrad, long time ago, said, all right, if we can't have promotion and relegation, what's wrong with giving the top team in Division II a berth into the MLS playoffs?
Well, it certainly would make the regular season for MLS a little more interesting if you take away another playoff spot.
It sure would.
Every game will matter. If you keep taking away spots and you keep adding more expansion teams, every game is going to make a difference.
But it actually gives a D2 team a chance at the pinnacle, at the top, at winning the highest honor. And then the question becomes, how ridiculous would it be if the top D2 team won the MLS Cup and then had to go back playing Division II soccer the next year? That's the only problem I have with Jimmy Conrad's concept.
I was going to say, basically, this wouldn't be a bad concept, but it requires a lot of work, a lot of cooperation between Division II and MLS.
Right.
The problem is that, historically speaking, MLS has not been on great terms with the Division II owners, which when it was originally with Nike, I think Nike sold it to New Rock when the owners TOA wanted it. But you can't just come up with say, hey, let's do this if you're not going to have the cooperation between the two leagues.
Right.
And
there's no guidelines for that cooperation right now. Those guys have to agree to get along on their own right now, and nobody's stepping in and monitoring the situation with a heavier hand. And at least in my opinion, that's what needs to happen.
And when you look at you said, like, well, what happens if the D2 team goes and wins and has to go back to Division II? The problem I have with MLS Cup and saying that, this is the champion, this is the winner of the league, is that all you have to do once you make it to the playoffs is have a small series of games where you succeed. Mm-hmm. And no team proved that more than when New York Red Bulls went to the finals and lost to Columbus.
Right.
They went on a string of successful games and managed to make it to the finals, even though they barely scraped it into the playoffs.
Right.
This is jumping to a different discussion we can't talk about right now, but this is why I prefer to say the champions of the league is the Supporter Shield rather than MLS Cup.
I mean, listen, I agree with you. You know that. But, we're not the only league with playoffs. So they do the same thing. Yeah, I mean, a lot of other leagues do it. I don't like it. Personally, you don't like it. A lot of people don't like it. I guess I'm only happy at least to see the progress that MLS has made towards having a balanced schedule. Now, the next step, I guess, at least theoretically, would be just having one table. And let's get out of this two-division table crap. Since everybody's playing everybody twice now, there's no point in having two tables. So that's the next logical step for me.
Let me just clarify that I absolutely love the playoffs. The environment during the playoffs is amazing. The atmosphere is electric. What I don't like is crowning the champions the MLS Cup. In my book, all it is a glorified cup. The league champions are the Supporter Shields, and I probably get a lot of guff from some fans for saying that.
Well, you could have it. You could call it the MLS Playoff Cup. Then you could have the MLS Cup, which is actually awarded to the people with the best record of all the teams, and which, of course, is the, as you said, the Shield winners. Those guys are the guys that should probably get the cup. And then the other guy should get the MLS Playoff Cup, which is a different cup. And then, of course, you have the U.S. Cup, too. And, it's all right. Look at England. They have so many cups. It's ridiculous. You're sick of watching so many cups. You don't know one cup from the next. It's like being in a locker room. And all I'm saying is, why not add another cup? What the hell? What difference does it make? They call it the Shield now. Well, let's just call them the winners of the league, because that's really what they were. They spent a whole freaking season playing better than everybody else, yet now they have to go through a playoff where any team willy-nilly who made it through barely by the skin of their teeth through the regular season now can, like the NFL, maybe that's the thing. We're all trying to appeal to American sensibilities here. Now they can win it all. I guess that's exciting. It is, but let's not call them the winners. You know what I mean? All right, well, what the hell? We're out of time, Brett. And so until next time, for Brett and I, this has been the Straight Red Card. Take care.